This is my module 5, end of module speak, responding to prompt number 1. Tonight, we'll examine the translation of values into form and details within Gothic and Italian mercantilistic architecture, and how the strength of this translation can manifest political and religious power over its communities. First, we'll examine the religious power through Gothic architecture, and then we'll turn to Italian mercantilism to examine a diverse nationalism created in the Piazza di San Marcos. By examining the translation of values into architecture and the power it can manifest, I hope that we can gain precedence to promote and manifest the values of our future clients and end users in our translation to form and detail. Beginning with the Gothic, first we'll look at the Cathedral des Chartres, and then we'll look at the Cathedral in Canterbury. Both citations come from Michael Camille's Gothic art. Beginning with the Cathedral des Chartres, we see list figures and statues along these flying buttresses of the Chave. The flying buttresses also themselves represent a great deal of hierarchy. The atlases are almost ironic, as the taxation caused by the building of this cathedral caused a great deal of oppression and eventually led to a revolt by the community that it was supposed to serve. In this revolt, we see the oppressive force of the Catholic Church of this time taking full hold on this community and causing a great distress. This is also was brought by the corruption that the indulgences sold in order to cover the cost of this church caused as well, bringing an almost darker air to this very light and airy cathedral. In Canterbury, we see this directly reflected in light. Light is supposed to be this very heavenly, very beautiful facet in all of Gothic architecture, but here it's very controlled. As pilgrims were directed directly down into the very depths of the church first, and would then later arise into the top of the chapel and be almost overwhelmed by the light and the great beauty in front of them. This overwhelming nature, while at first seeming incredibly heavenly, is actually a great deal of control. This control depicts the illusion of care and light and the veil of heaven that one would feel while the Catholic Church exhibited control and power in the communities that it served. Next, let's move on to Italian mercantilism. We'll be staying in Venice and specifically the Piazza di San Marcos. Beginning with St. Mark's Basilica, Ingersoll's world architecture discusses the ideas of theft versus replication. Theft comes directly from their columns and statues, directly from Byzantine. They actually stole these artifacts from the Byzantine areas and brought them back to Venice. This direct theft was meant to establish power and independence from the Byzantines, who had once been the most powerful empire in the Mediterranean. So taking and stealing the power of the Byzantines for themselves and establishing themselves as the most powerful empire in the Mediterranean at the time. This is contrasted by replication. The cupola domes of St. Mark's Basilica, as well as the metal ornamentation inside, are from Cairo. This replication is meant to show respect and maintain trade relations. Unlike the Holy Roman Empire, in which they're trying to distance themselves, they want to replicate Cairo and hold it in a high esteem. This is important because of the immense amount of strife going on with the Crusades. They want to distance themselves from the Holy Roman Empire and establish themselves as a respectful empire to maintain trade relations with Cairo. Lastly, the Doge's Palace. We see a mimicry of the Roman arcade with their own distinct style. Every Corinthian column in the Doge's Palace is unique, reflecting the unique nature of Venice and its inhabitants. This was done, as well as the replication of Romanesque ideas as a whole, was done to establish dominance over the power of the Holy Roman Church, who actually had distanced themselves from Roman paganist ideas. Hence, Gothic architecture. This also allowed them to gain power in imitating one of the greatest empires of all time. And imitating the greatness of Rome, you claim yourself as a new Rome, just as they were with the establishment of a republic. To close, we've explored how the strong and direct translation of values found in religious Gothic architecture and the diverse architecture of Italian merchant cities can manifest powerful influence on the communities they inhabit. We've done this by examining the impact of Gothic cathedrals, both stylistically and economically, as well as examining the choices of theft versus replication in the Piazza di San Marcos. So, I hope that by examining the effect these vastly different translations of value have had on their communities, that we can gain precedence into how our translations to form and space and detail can empower and elevate not just our clients, but the communities that they serve and the communities our buildings will inhabit.